Welcome to Ageless by Rescu. This podcast is devoted to exploring the science of rejuvenation, uncovering the most trusted experts, the must-have products, innovations, and technology in the field of vitality, aesthetics, new beauty, and cosmetic enhancement. Today is a wonderful day because I'm delighted to bring Dr. Jane Oppenheim to Ageless by Rescu podcast. Dr. Jane and I met at an event, I want to say early in the year, and she was one of the rare breeds of scientist and doctor and expert that you heard speak, but you also related with as a woman, as someone who was interested in looking good. And I was delighted when you accepted my invitation, Dr. Oppenheim. Welcome.
Oh, thank you so much, Baha. And it's so lovely to be here. It's so lovely to see somebody working so hard to communicate the importance of skincare to a range of age groups and helping people look their best all through their life. And I think you're doing a wonderful job. So thank you.
High praise by someone I really admire. Dr. Jane, as a mother of a daughter and as a woman whose father is a scientist, I'd love to explore a little bit about your background in STEM and how you came into the cosmetic industry. It wasn't your first choice, was it?
Well, I'm not sure. In actual fact, when I think about my life and I go back in time, one of the things that really affected me was I watched a television documentary when I was about 9 or 10, and it talked about the three beauty queens at the time, which was Helena Rubinstein, Elizabeth Arden, and Estee Lauder. And I remember this documentary tracked their progress, and they each developed, their own companies and were very successful in personal care. And they were successful because they really helped people. And I remember looking at it and thinking, wow, isn't that impressive? Look at what these women have done. They've really provided a service to the community, but also, they've become very successful. And I think that really affected me back then. And it really encouraged me to go on and think about what I could do to be helpful to the community. My parents were always encouraging me, as a lot of parents do, to study STEM because, they thought that there was more job opportunities. So I really got on to the job of being a student and doing all that sort of thing. And I did a science degree. And then I was very lucky to meet my husband in university, whose family had started Ego Pharmaceuticals. And I think, the two things twigged that, perhaps
the
I
confluence
could be a
of fate and passion. I love this.
Yeah.
It's a love story.
And so it worked out really well for me. I had a genuine interest in personal care and really making a difference, really putting products out there that were scientifically credible and that were really valuable to the community. And I just had a feeling that that was the way to success. To really make products that people want to use and need to use. And I think Ego's done a terrific job of doing that, particularly, with the development of the Elucent range. So yes, in the meantime, I went on and I did a PhD and I worked in immunology at WEHI, or the Walter and Eliza Hall Institute. And that really helped me. It gave me a very good grounding in science. And what questions to ask and how the scientific process is conducted, and immunology, of course, is really important to understanding the skin. So all of that was really valuable, but it really helped me move on towards what I really wanted to do, and that was to really develop skincare products.
Well, we're delighted to have someone as esteemed as you on the show, because one of the things that I like to do with Ageless by Rescu podcast is to bring people who are behind the brands and behind the science that is pushing forward developments and innovation. And one of the things that I really respect about what you've done is the egalitarian approach that you've taken, because one of the things that is really apparent is that we talk about skincare and we talk about cosmeceuticals, and I'll ask you in a moment to differentiate between the two. But the thing that, you know, is obvious for any man or woman who's looking for skincare is that the ingredients and the efficacy and the potency often is reflected in the expense and the rarity and the, you know, perhaps how prevalent it is in the market. And then with Elucent, you were able to develop a brand that's literally available at Chemist Warehouse. It's affordable to anyone. And I like your tagline, no BS, just science. So it's beautiful.
Yeah, no, it is. And that's right. The Elucent products are truly, you know, made to be effective. They really contain the optimum level of active ingredients to have the best effect on the skin, and yet they truly are very affordable. And
how did you do that, Dr. Oppenheim? How do you, I mean, you know, I'm in the world of marketing and science. My background is actually in the Estee Lauder group of companies, so I understand, you know, the dream. And I was an importer of cosmetic brands. I imported 36 different brands to the Australian market, many of which have been bought out for hundreds of millions of dollars since. And I understand on the one level, having been to the factories, having been to the laboratories, it's really hard to find high performance ingredients. And there's a cost for that. And ultimately, the consumer has to pay the cost for that. How have you been able to harness the power of cosmeceutical grade efficacy and then made it available at, you know, a price point that is really affordable?
Well, I think it's really a matter of where you're putting your priority. You know, we're really trying to bring out products that people can use, people can, you know, that make their skin, will protect their skin, firstly, protect their skin from the sun, protect their skin from aging. And I think we're really focused on doing the best job that we possibly can. A lot of the work that we put into the product, of course, is really understanding the science, really understanding the active ingredients and what level of active ingredients needs to go into the product to have the scientific effect of that ingredient. The other thing we work really, really hard on is to make sure the products are nice to use.
I do absolutely agree with you. Compliance is 90% of the battle. If they're not using it because they don't enjoy it, then they're not going to get effect of anything.
That's right. Yeah, so it's really, you know, making sure you've got the right science and making sure you've put it in the right product at the right level and making sure the product is pleasant to use. And then we hope that a range of people will be able to use those products. We sell through pharmacy because we believe that that's where people can get advice for their skin. And we just aim at getting more people using the product rather than a select few people using the product. So that's our philosophy.
Can we talk ingredients, please, Dr. Oppenheim? What in your field of study and what in your clinical reviews of all the ingredients that are available, what is the gold standard 4 or 5 key things that we should be looking for in skincare, whether it's your skincare or any other skincare? If you were to give us, our readers and listeners, advice, what would it be?
Well, the first one, of course, is the alpha hydroxy acids. The alpha hydroxy acids are just so important to anti-aging skincare products. What they do is that they penetrate into the skin and they actually dissolve what's called the desmosomes, which is the linkages between the dead skin cells. And that means that the dead skin cells are free to float to the surface and slough off the surface. And that leaves the skin at much more viable, much more fresh, which, you know, produces a more moisturized, more flexible, more resilient skin layer. So you want to take the dead skin cells off the skin, leaving the viable skin cells behind. And the alpha hydroxy acids do that. We use a mixture of alpha hydroxy acids and we make sure that the pH of the products are ensuring that the products work to the best of their the best effect that you can get for that level of alpha hydroxy acid. So that's really important, really knowing the science, making sure the science is right in the product. Now, alpha hydroxy acids, because they're active ingredients, can cause irritation on the skin. And so you have to introduce them very gently. The Elucent range comes in a range of strengths of alpha hydroxy acid.
I did notice that actually, yeah.
Yeah, some are 2%, such as the cleanser, and we go up to 16% in the serum. So when you're introducing using the Elucent products, or in fact any products that contain alpha hydroxy acids, you need to be careful. Buying the, for instance, starting off with the cleanser and just using the cleanser at 2%, and then working up to using the night cream. And if you've got sensitive skin, introducing it so that perhaps you use it one day and then your regular moisturizer like the QV night cream on the other day, until you get used to that alpha hydroxy acids. And you do over time get used to it. And after you've introduced all the products, you can get to the stage like I do, where you can in fact use the serum, say once a month, so that you can have a really penetrating effect that sort of like really, you know, takes the last of those skin cells away, leaving you with much fresher skin. So
you're almost using the alpha hydroxy serum as a treatment mask when you first start.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah, that's right.
Almost like a peel. If you were to go to a salon and they would give you an AHA peel, you can actually get the same effect by buying a high but balanced formula serum and then introducing that once a month initially and then building up to that. I get it.
That's right. So the more sensitive your skin is, the more slowly you should start. And if you're having no problems, then certainly move to using them. And the more often you can use them, the more you will be, you know, taking the dead skin's layer off and asking the skin to regenerate from the bottom. And that just makes the skin look much nicer, much fresher. It evens out pigmentation and just gives that dewy, hydrated effect that you want on the skin. So the alpha hydroxy acids, they're the workhorse.
Gotcha. So that's number one. Yeah,
number one. There's a number of other ingredients in the Elucent range that are very, very important. The next most important ingredient, which is the real what's the hero ingredient to the dermatologists, is the niacinamide.
Yes, now, haven't we heard a lot about that? Let's break it down. What is it? What does it do, and why do we need it?
Well, niacinamide in particular is a real hero, particularly in Australia, because it's actually been a dermatologist in Sydney. Her name was Dr. Diona Damien, who did a lot of the research in niacinamide, and she showed that niacinamide, which is a vitamin B, has an effect of reducing immunosuppression and moisturizing and evening out the skin tone, and a whole range of really great effects on the skin. So we've introduced niacinamide as a hero ingredient in our Elucent products, and also in the Elucent Even Tone products. So a really, really important ingredient. We also use vitamin E, which is just a terrific moisturizer. And we also have the, I'm trying to pronounce the name, avamides. And those ingredients work to suppress irritation on the skin as well. So there's a range of really fantastic ingredients in all the Elucent products, and also in the Even Tone products that help do the same thing. Just you know, bring the new skin cells forward and up to the surface of the skin, and moisturize the skin and allow the skin to get a resilience through that moisturization.
Dr. Oppenheim, what are your views as a scientist and I guess as a formulator on single ingredient products that have become all the rage in the market? You know, you can just get the AHA, you can just get the niacinamide, you can just get the vitamin C. How do you feel about that when you're creating a formulation? Is there a reason you would go down that path, or is there a reason that you try to combine ingredients in your formulation?
Well, we're trying to find the best mix of ingredients for people, so that, you know, if you've got the AHAs, you're counteracting the irritant effect by also putting in the avamide to reduce the irritation. We're also, you know, putting in the vitamin E, and also the niacinamide helps moisturize the skin, and that helps reduce the irritant effect. So we find the combination of these active ingredients makes the products both more effective, but also more usable, more tolerable to a lot of people. I suspect the single ingredient products allows you to make your own products and make your own regime. But what we're doing is looking at the science and saying, what do a broad number of people need in their products to get the effect?
Now, one of the things that you're big on, and I'd love, you touched on it before, you said you have an even tone range. So absolutely, definitely the number one concern for this market is pigmentation and sun damage. So I assume that the even tone range is really squarely addressing the issues of hyperpigmentation, skin unevenness. And so I'd love you to talk about that and why you developed an entire range just to address.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for the question. Well, the even tone range is to really help even out the pigmentation, which just sort of brightens the skin. And so, you know, what the science says is that if you can slough off the dead cells, and if you can generate new cells within the skin, then the melanin becomes more evenly spread over the skin. So just that sloughing off of the dead skin cells, you know, generates the new cells coming up, and you get that brightening effect on the skin. So once again, alpha hydroxy acids are the base, but also the other ingredients like the niacinamide and the vitamin E, they all help to make the skin resilient by making it moisturized and supple. The other thing, of course, that's very, very important is to protect the skin from the sun. And therefore, the Elucent anti-aging day cream, or the Elucent even tone day cream.
This is my favorite product from the range, by the way.
Yeah, me too. Me too.
It's my favorite, easily. Yeah. It's so nice. It's not sticky. It's great under makeup. Yeah. You don't even think
and
about
it's a great SPF 30 product.
So I put it on my daughter as well. She loves it. She doesn't get that horrible sticky feeling.
Yeah, really, really good protection in a really cosmetically elegant product. And while you're protecting yourself from the sun, you're also getting the advantages of the anti-aging effect on the skin. So just a terrific product to have.
Dr. Oppenheim, can I ask you, how old are you, if you don't mind me asking? You have such beautiful skin.
Yeah, I'm 60.
Well, you have gorgeous skin, and you've obviously taken impeccable care of it, because your skin has a perfectly even tone. And I've met you, so I can report that, you know, your pores are invisible. You have beautiful even tone, and it looks really soft and supple. What do you do to look after your skin, and what do you recommend are the steps that are necessary, and what do you, in your scientific recommendation, think is a waste of time?
Well, my skin regime is, as you can see, Elucent. You know, I use all the Elucent products all the time. I start off with the cleanser. I use the Elucent day cream every day. I never go into the sun without sunscreen. Of course, in summer, whenever I'm outside, I try to wear a hat and cover my skin as well. I use the Elucent night cream. I use the Elucent eye cream.
Do you believe in eye cream? You've obviously made one because you believe in it, but tell me why you recommend eye cream, because I get this question all the time. Can I use my moisturizer under my eyes? Is it really very different? Why would you pay so much for a little bit of cream when you can get this much cream? Tell us, please.
Well, a couple of reasons. The eye cream has been made specifically for the eye area, and what we have done with the product is that we have made it so that it's very soft and very gentle, so you can put it around the crepey skin of the eye and not cause any trauma to that skin.
So you can cause trauma if you're using the wrong products.
Well, if the product drags, you know, I don't think that it's very nice to use around the eye. The other thing that we've done is that we've used the ingredients that are ideal for moisturizing the skin around the eye, and we've tested the product in ophthalmological testing to ensure that it's suitable for use around the eye. So those are the things that I think that you should really be looking for in your eye product. So yes, I think that it justifies having a special product for around the eye, just to protect that very sensitive skin. What products do I think are not valuable? I don't see the value of toners. I think that that's if you use a good cleanser, I think that that's enough. I don't see the value of I think the toner is to make the pores look smaller, but it's a very temporary effect. And I think if you've cleansed your face with a good cleanser, like the Elucent cleanser, or in fact any of the QV cleansers, I think that that's enough. I don't see the value of a toner. I think that goes against the traditional cosmetic philosophy, but that's just my view.
Probably with the onset of the development of, as you were saying, AHAs and BHAs, you're already causing that chemical exfoliation process. And I think one of the reasons that we had toners before, and I think there was very much a place for them in the past, is the ingredients in the skincare didn't allow for any exfoliation. And it wasn't until the AHA and the BHA technology was introduced that we were getting enough sloughing of the dead skin cells, bringing them up to the surface. So you had to do something like exfoliate with, you know, manual scrubs or mitts or brushes or the toner. So I agree, a more sophisticated formula gives way to having, you can eliminate one or two products. Do you have face masks? Do you do face masks? Do you like facials? Do you believe in them?
Yeah, I do. And when I go to a facial, I take my own products. I'm generous to the cosmetic lady, and I pay the same, but I insist on using my own products.
I love this.
So we do have a face mask in the QV range. So I use the face mask about once a month, and also a light scrub is nice to use every now and then too. And
how often would you recommend it? Because again, I marvel at your beautiful skin quality, and I think, gosh, I hope my skin looks that smooth and luminous.
Certainly, the QV purifying scrub you can use every day if you wanted to. There would be no problems because it's in such a moisturizing base. I tend to use it less often than that. I might use it a couple of times a week, but that's I'm just busy, and I guess everybody has their own sort of routine. And a face mask is something that I would put on when I go to the beautician. So that would probably be once every couple of months or so. But certainly there's no reason not to do it more often than that if you'd like to.
Can I ask you about antioxidants, whether topical or ingestible? Again, from a scientific perspective, could you explain to us what they are and do you have antioxidant ingredients in your skincare ranges?
Well, I believe that vitamin C acts as an antioxidant. And really what they're doing is they're just absorbing free radicals that could cause damage in the skin. And I think it's the same. I think that if you're taking antioxidants into the body, what you're doing is hoping that they're absorbing the free radicals that are likely to cause cell damage. So yeah, that's I can't comment on systemically. I don't know how effective they are. Yeah, yeah, I think that's that's the reason you incorporate them, that you're just trying to absorb anything that's likely to cause damage to the cells.
Let me ask you about the manufacturing process. And again, going back to the fact that, you know, you've managed to launch Elucent into a very skincare oriented market, a very difficult market in that, you know, our rules and regulations are quite stringent, and yet you've won so many awards and you've been regarded as, you know, a hugely innovative laboratory for skincare. What do you think is the most important innovation of the past, say, 10 years in skincare technology? And my second part of the question is, what are you excited about going into the future that you're seeing and playing with at the moment in your laboratory?
Well, I do think alpha hydroxy acids are really, really important. I think they have been around for 20 years, but you're allowed to use them without prescription, and they're very effective. So I think that that's wonderful. I think that the niacinamide has been a more recent innovation, and I love to follow the science of these ingredients. What I think is really important is you stick to the scientific claims that you're able to make. I think that
no BS, no BS.
no BS, that's right. The products have to be underpinned by science, that the products have to do what they say they do. The ingredients have to be at the active ingredient level that is supported by the science. I think that that's really, really important. And then in addition to that, it's really important that the products themselves are tested. And this is one thing that I think it's people are often surprised that, you know, that they think that all products are tested. But if you look into it and you look into the information those companies are giving, that the testing hasn't necessarily been done on that product.
And what is it? How can a consumer know any of this? You know, are we going in with blind faith when we're spending money or when we're choosing products? Because as you were saying, you said something really interesting earlier, and I didn't want to interrupt you, but we shouldn't be formulating our own cosmetics on our face, like 10% of this and 15% efficacy of that, and adding it all together when we don't have the background. So those single ingredient stories, that could potentially be a road to irritation and, you know, and hell for the skin. So how do we know if...
I think you've got to read the literature, you know, and I would certainly encourage people to read our brochures and read the information that comes with the products, and just ask the questions, look for the references that are on those products, just to make sure that, you know, the testing has been done on those specific products, not on the ingredient generally. Well, you know, it's all very well for niacinamide.
Yes, not just the ingredient clinicals, but rather the product clinicals are also important.
Yeah, yeah, that's right.
Can I ask you, how long does it take for you to, from concept to bringing product to market? I've always wanted to know this.
Look, we've got a new range that's coming out. I can't tell you very much about that, in February, and we're very excited about that range. But we have done it as absolutely quickly as we possibly can. and it's taken us a little over 2 years. So to do the formulation and the testing and the claim substantiation, it takes a reasonable amount of time. The other thing we do extensively is stability trials. So we trial our products and we put it on stability at a range of temperatures, 5 degrees, room temperature, 30 degrees, 40 degrees and 50 degrees, and for a period of time to make sure that the formulation holds together. And that ensures that if the product has to be transported within Australia or overseas, that we wouldn't expect the product to fall apart if it's exposed to a high temperature. So to formulate carefully, it takes a little over 2 years as a minimum to get products to market.
That's really good to know. And speaking of
stability, and look out for
stability,
something exciting next February.
I'm excited. Tell me, speaking of stability and transportation, how long from when we buy product do you recommend for skincare, in particular active skincare? How long should we keep it before we consider throwing it out and starting again?
So here's a trick. A quality skincare product will actually have an expiry date on it. So look for an expiry date. Now, an expiry date should tell you that the product has been tested in stability trials to justify that expiry date. So you're looking at a better skincare product if it's got an expiry date. So the expiry date should tell you that the stability trial has been carried out, and at that 3-year time point or that 5-year time point, the product is still, nice to use. Okay, so look for an expiry date on a skincare product. Probably once you've opened a skincare product and you've used the skincare product, you should really try to be using it up within 6 months and 12 months at the most. Because although products are preserved so that they should stay bacteria free as you use them, the more time and the more times you dip into it and the more time there is, the more time that there is to get contaminated. So probably after you open it, 6 to 12 months should probably be all that you keep it for.
That's very good advice. And the last bit of advice, which I will ask you before we say goodbye, is if we were, the next generation of Jane Oppenheims or Estee Lauders or Elizabeth Ardens or Helena Rubinsteins, what would you recommend for a young woman who's interested in the cosmetic industry? How can she, what should she study? What should she be doing to get her career started in this beautiful world?
Look, I was always very grateful for the fact that I started in science. I had a good science basis. I've been very happy with that. It's always given me a sense of a foundation, a sense of solidity in what I do. At the same time, I've always valued working closely with our marketing colleagues and with so many other people with diverse skills, supply chain colleagues. I think that to be really successful as a company, you need a very broad range of skills. And so it's really a matter of following your interests and your dreams, but complementing what your skills are with the other skills to make a broad range of skills. You need to have good marketing material based on good science. You need to be able to get it to the customer. You need to understand the whole industry. So it doesn't matter where your interests lie, you can be part of a really important ecosystem of people that bring good products to the market.
It was such a joy to speak to you. I really appreciate your time. And I want to thank you for being on Ageless by Rescu podcast, Dr. Jane Oppenheim from Elucent. Thank you very, very much for joining us today. And I feel infinitely better versed. No BS, just science, good science.
Thank you so much, Baha. And thank you for doing the job that you're doing and bringing all this information to so many people. I really appreciate that.
In science we
Thank you.
trust, Dr. Oppenheim. In science we
Yes.
trust. Thank you so
Yeah,
much. Have a
thank you very
beautiful
much.
afternoon.
Okay, thank you. Bye.
I hope you enjoyed this episode, and if you did, please share and rate this episode. I'd love that.